Evening Hi-Fi fans. So I've had another receiver delivered today, and this one has got here really quick because I only bought it a couple of days ago and it's turned up already. Now in this box should be a realistic STA-20. It's a little receiver from 1975 and it is a monster because it is 7 watts per channel. Well, that's what Hi-Fi Engine said, but from memory I can remember this receiver being quite loud, so it must be true because that's what it says on Hi-Fi Engine, but I do find that hard to believe with this one because I had one of these little realistics when I was a kid and it did seem a lot more powerful than 7 watts per channel. And I have bought this one off of the computer, so it's sold as seen, totally untested. But unlike other people who say that, I do actually believe the seller on this one, because over the years I've bought quite a few things off of him. He's one of my saved sellers. He does like house clearances, so he has a load of stuff on his listings, but now and again he gets amplifiers and receivers, and I have bought a few of him before and they always are as described. So if he says he hasn't tested this one, then I believe that he hasn't tested this one, because over the last probably 5 or 6 years I've probably bought 10 or more receivers off him. No, probably more than 10. I have had quite a lot of him. And the first one I bought off him, this is the reason why I saved him as a seller. I bought a big vintage Marantz receiver, really nice old one. So it had been listed as untested because the lead was damaged. In a few places you could see the copper hanging out of it. So I bought it thinking, oh, the seller's done that himself to make out he hasn't tested it when he knows it doesn't work. But then when I put a new lead on it, it worked perfectly. So he was 100% telling the truth. He just hadn't tested it. So that is why I saved him as a seller. And then everything since then I've had off him has always been as listed. So let's open up this realistic and see if this one is as listed. And because he's listed it as untested, the chances are this one might even work. It might not have nothing wrong with it. I will give it a service and that before I try it. And it needs the plug changing on it, because you'll see in a minute when I get it out, it's got a really old-fashioned plug on it, and that is why he said he hadn't tested it. Now I know he could have just changed the plug and tested it, but all he ever does is say they power up or they don't power up. I've never seen him list anything where he's connected speakers and that up to it and says it is all working. They are either sold as untested or they are sold as plugged in and did not power up, or plugged in and did power up but no further testing done. So that's all you ever get from this seller. And as you can see, he does always package them nicely. Like with this one, there's a ton of newspaper in there. It's got all bubble wrap round the edges, and the receiver itself has been wrapped in bubble wrap, so this one has been well protected. And this one will be the third one I've bought off them wanted list videos that I've been making. So if you've seen any of them videos, this is the third one that I've bought from them lists. So I've already got a JVC AS5 and a Sansui 221. So now I've got this little realistic, making it 3 from the lists. And it has got a little bit of weight to it, this realistic. It doesn't weigh a ton, but it has got a bit of weight to it. You see there, look, that is the old-fashioned plug that is on this one. So that's what the seller said. He hasn't tested it because it had that plug on it. and that is like a really old UK plug, so I shall take that off and put that on eBay, that plug, and you never know, that might be worth something, that plug. So let's get this last bit of bubble wrap out of the way, and I am noticing the cabinet on this one does look in really good condition, it really does. The front looks very dirty, but it doesn't look damaged. It has got all its knobs and all its switches on it. And that cabinet, look at that, that cabinet looks really good on this one. And that is one of them cabinets where the receiver slides out the front. So the cabinet is not like a lid, it is like a total box, and the receiver slides inside it. So I'll just get the camera off of the tripod, and I'll get you in there and show you the front of my nice, new, realistic STA-20. So apart from looking a little bit grubby and dirty, the front of this realistic looks really good. I reckon this one's going to clean up really well. I can't see no scratches or anything on it. Yeah, it does. I reckon this one's going to clean up really nice. It's got some like brown marks along the top there. It looks like it's had tape or something on it at one point. But look at that cabinet. That cabinet looks really good condition. That's going to polish up really good, that cabinet. So let's get in the front there and have a feel of the tuning wheel. Yeah, that feels like it's working alright. I can see the little tuning needle moving. Let's have a feel of the buttons. That one felt alright. Right, so that speaker one felt a bit dodgy. Volume feels quite nice. It feels loose, that volume pot, but it doesn't feel grindy or anything like that. Balance one feels nice. Treble one, that feels smooth as anything, that treble. Bass one. Yeah, again, that bass one feels smooth as anything. Tape monitor, you felt alright. Loudness button, yeah, that feels good. Nothing wrong with that. Mono, yeah, mono feels alright. Let's try the selector. Yeah, that's clicking through nicely. So the selector feels good on this one. Yeah, so other than that speaker select switch, which felt really like seized up, everything else on the front of this realistic felt good. So with this one, back in the day, there was a ton of this stuff sold, because if you lived in America, you would have gone to a shop called Radio Shack and bought realistic stuff. And as far as I can make out, in America, they had a Radio Shack more or less in every town. So they sold a ton of this stuff. And in the UK, we had exactly the same shop selling exactly the same gear. But in the UK, it wasn't called Radio Shack, it was called Tandy. And we had one in more or less every town. Every decent sized town in the UK would have had a tandy selling this gear, and they was all over the world. So this realistic stuff was sold everywhere, all over the world. So there is a ton of this stuff out there. So I've just put the camera down while I turned the realistic round, and then we get in and have a look at the back of it. And it looks nice condition, the back of it, there's no damage on that. As you see there, it's got the little screw bits for the radio. So it's got phono, auxiliary and a tape. And then you've got your speaker connections. So the main speakers go in on phono plugs and the bottom ones go on them little screws. It's got an AC outlet socket, a fuse on the back. And if you noticed, it says on the back there, this one was made in Korea. So it really does look in good condition, this realistic. That cabinet is lovely. All the back is looking good. It just looks a bit dirty. It does look like it hasn't been used in years, this one. because all them phono connections on the back, they look really dirty, like they have not had a lead put on them for years. And it's got a nice metal back plate. And the thing, people think this realistic stuff was really cheap budget gear, when it wasn't. It was sold cheap because it sold in big numbers, but it is actually decent stuff that is really well made. So I just put my camera down and I'll turn it back round. And it's only lately, like the last few years, that people have realised this realistic stuff is good, and the prices have gone up on it, because a few years ago no one wanted realistic stuff. It had a bad reputation, it was all dirt cheap. But now people are realising how good this stuff is, so the prices are going up. So I've got my tape measure and I'll do the size of it. So that is 41 centimetre, or just over 16 inches wide. I'll do the depth of it. So that's just over 11 inches deep. So let's see how tall it is. It's not very tall. See there, it's 5 inches. So it's quite big for a 7 watt per channel receiver. It has got a bit of size to it, and it has got a bit of weight to it as well. It is quite heavy, this little receiver. So I'll do what I always do, and I'll put the camera down and I'll put another receiver on top of it to give you a size comparison. Now the easiest one for me to put on top of it is my little Sansui 221 that I had delivered the other day. Now it's got no cabinet on it, but I haven't taken that off. That is how I bought it, and as yet I've not been able to find one for it. I've had a look on the computer, but there's been none on there for sale so far, but hopefully one will turn up for it. And you can see there, look, the realistic is more or less the same size as the Sansui. The Sansui is just a little bit taller, but they are the same width and the same depth. So I'll show you the size of the others there. And that black one, that is a Sansui 310, and that is more or less the same size. And the one at the bottom there, the bigger one, that is a Pioneer SX750, and that is a lot bigger than these other three, and a lot more expensive, because these other three are all quite cheap receivers really, and that Pioneer SX750, that is a very expensive receiver. So I will get this realistic over onto my other channel and run right through it and give it a service and that before I try it. And I will need to sort that speaker select button out, because that definitely does not feel right. And that volume, it feels loose and wobbly. It doesn't feel grindy or bent or anything like that. It just feels really loose in there. So that'll need tightening up and sorting out. But other than that, everything feels fine on this realistic. So the chances are, because of who I got it off, this realistic could actually be working. Although it is untested, there's a 50-50 that there might be nothing wrong with this realistic, and it does only need a little bit of sorting out and a bit of a service. Now, I can't guarantee there is nothing wrong with this receiver, because at the end of the day I have bought this one as untested, so it could have a lot of problems with it, because it does look like it hasn't been used in years for some reason, this realistic. And like I said, it has come from a house clearance and has literally just been put on the computer and sold as untested. But with this one, if it does turn out that it needs some parts, it won't be hard to get parts for this thing, because there is loads of this realistic stuff out there, and a lot of them did use the same parts. And when you read up about this realistic stuff, People say some of it is made by Pioneer, some of it is made by Sansui, some of it is made by Hitachi, some of it is made by Sanyo, and the list goes on. So Realistic did not make their own stuff. It was all made by someone else and then just sold as Realistic in the Radio Shack and the Tandy shops. So thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.